Some say we are moving to a multipolar world, and of course, with Russia basically defying the U.S. will and the rise of the rest. Let's say, if you look at the global south, China, India, South America, Brazil, basically countries in the developing world, they are not following the Western countries to impose sanctions on Russia. And then they refuse to take sides on the war. And so they are choosing a neutral status in terms of the Ukraine conflict. Do you see there's a rise of a multipolar world? If that's the case, what's the impact of the war on the global order?
I think there's no question that we are in a multipolar world. I believe we have been in a multipolar world since roughly 2017. And when I say we're in a multipolar world, I believe there are three great powers on the planet: the United States, China, and Russia. I believe Russia is the weakest of those three great powers. And I believe that China is a peer competitor to the United States. One does not want to underestimate how powerful China is and how much potential power it has. And this is why the United States has long been interested in pivoting to Asia. So you have three great powers at play in the system. We are in a multipolar world. Unipolarity is behind us. Now, given the Ukraine war, what's happened here is that America's ability to win friends around the world has diminished. It's really quite remarkable. There's no question that in the West, relations between the United States and its European allies and relations between the United States and Japan and South Korea have improved as a result of the Ukraine war. And the West looks more united than ever. But given what the United States is doing in Ukraine, it's quite clear that outside of the West, most countries are not sympathetic to the United States at all. And in fact, they're reasonably, if not very hostile to the United States. I think the best example of this is India. Before the Ukraine war, it looked like India and the United States were going to join together to form a quite tight balancing coalition against China. But once the Ukraine war broke out, given the history of good relations between Russia and India, the Indians have been very reluctant to side with the United States in any meaningful way against Russia. And indeed, one could argue that the Indians are siding with the Russians against the Americans over the Ukraine war. This has ramifications for the United States' ability to contain China, because India was supposed to be a key player in the balancing coalition against China. So if you look at what's happening as a result of the Ukraine war, what you see is that outside the West, the United States is not doing very well in terms of winning influence and getting countries to line up on its side against China.
Well,